Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Series. I also typically call this, conversation with a mentor when I'm the one facilitating the session. I hope you know me. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun. I won't be reading my profile or anything, but I've been around for a while and I love doing this, adding value to the HR community and doing my best to ensure we empower and enlighten everyone so that we can become better on the job. And tonight, my job is to facilitate a conversation around managing costs in human resources, managing costs in human resources. Depending on how long you've been in HR and depending on where you have worked, I just want you to drop in the chat box from your perspective or from the perspective of the other stakeholders you have worked with. Would you say HR is a cost center or a revenue center? So I would need just two words, revenue center or cost center. Now, this does not necessarily need to reflect your own thoughts, but the predominant thought of all the stakeholders you've engaged with, either your managing director, your board, the people you've interfaced or related with in the past. I'd like to see it in the chat box. Would you say HR is a cost center or HR is a revenue center based on the aggregate feedback you have gotten? Again, it does not necessarily need to reflect your own belief or your own thought. In other words, you may type something that reflects what most people say or the stakeholders you've worked with say. I may not necessarily reflect what you think. Thank you so much, Ayola Shekoni. And Ayola said here that's a cost center. Hopefully I'll get one or two more feedback quickly, even though I expect 16 feedback from everyone. Etine Akpabi also says cost center. Nuruddin says cost center. Osatui Paul says cost center. As more inputs will come in and we'll look at it. Again, it doesn't really matter whether it is a cost center or a revenue center, or even a combination of the two, cost center and revenue center. But one thing is clear, that if HR is able to manage cost, significantly will be able to add more value to the table, bring more value to the table. Because even if we ourselves don't see ourselves as a cost center and our stakeholders see us as a cost center, if we are able to demonstrate that we are bringing down the cost associated and related with HR down, in other words, that will be some kind of value proposition. Ladies and gentlemen, cost is going up everywhere. When I say everywhere, I mean all the areas of the business. For example, even if you are renting a property, the rent will probably go up. Even if you own the property, the tenement rate is going up. The cost of maintenance of the facility, equipment, our tools. So for example, work tools like laptops, phone, internet, all these costs are going up. And all types of costs will go up. So which means that there is going to be an increased pressure on cost across the entire spectrum of the business. Guess what? HR costs will also be what? Impacted. So before we continue this conversation, this is the table of contents for our conversation for tonight. Well, we've already started with the introduction. We'll look at the importance of cost management in human resources. We'll look at the types of HR costs. We'll look at ways to reduce costs in HR. We'll look at strategic workforce planning in managing HR costs, technology and automation in managing HR costs, outsourcing strategies in managing HR costs. We'll also look at a simple case study. One more thing in the table of content, we'll also look at any other thing around this subject matter that you, my distinguished guests and participants and co-discussants, bring to the table, either in the chat box or when you raise your hands to speak and with it. I also like to say that tonight, at any point in time, if you want to make a contribution, maybe to a point I am making, raise your hands. I will recognize you and speak. Note, I said if you want to say something and make a contribution, not if you want to ask a question. If you want to ask a question, wait till the very end of the session. We'll take all questions related to this subject matter. I'll say that one more time. If you want to maybe share an example, an insight, contribution at any point while I'm speaking, just raise your hands. I will give you permission. You will make your contribution, and I'll also continue the conversation, so that I'm trying to also crowdsource. And as I'm speaking to and sharing, feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat box. Okay, maybe your examples, illustrations, and so on and so forth. Again, I've reiterated, and I'm recapping that cost is going to go up everywhere. Okay, fueling, diesel, electricity bill, cost of production, importing your raw materials, cost of marketing, sales. Just think about any of the value chain of in your business, cost will go up. Most likely, your board or your management, your CEO, will put pressure on all the strategic business units on, let's manage cost, let's reduce cost, let's cut cost. I'm saying this so that when conversations revolve around your space, and by your space, you have two spaces, your space as HR, and then your space as a part of the entire business. Don't get angry or agitated. Don't become defensive and say, oh, don't they know that everything has gone up? For example, when you try to recruit people now, they are going to ask for more. You know, in the last 1 year of my HR journey, one thing that happened consistently, I'm speaking to the last 1 year, every time somebody left a role and we tried to fill that role from outside, after going through the whole recruitment process, and we're able to say narrow down to 1, 2, 3 exceptional candidates, guess what? They are asking price or asking salary, asking remuneration is typically almost higher than the salary of the person that exited the role. I'll say that again for emphasis. In the last 1 year, in my experience, note, I'm speaking about my experience right now. I'm not talking about a survey. I'm not talking about something I read. Every single time that maybe somebody left a role and then we went through the recruitment process to replace that person, and the people we are trying to bring in, they are from outside the organization. By the time we narrow to 1 or 2 or 3 exceptional, emphasis on exceptional, not just anybody, any random person, I will say, wow, we think this person will be a good fit. We think this person will be a good replacement. By the time you check maybe the form they filled with respect to their salary expectation, or by the time we are negotiating, almost every time, in my personal experience, in the last 1 year, every single time, the new people are asking for and above what the former incumbent in that role is asking for. And a lot of factors. Some will even tell you that, you know how much fuel is right now. You know how much Forex dollar is right now. You know the standard cost of living is right now. You too, you know the go markets. Some of them are even that direct and blunt. And they make it look very normal. And I don't blame anybody. Transportation has gone up, whether you are entering public transport, whether you are entering Uber, Taxify, all those alternative transport models, whether you are driving your own car. Cost has gone up. That is the reality that we face today. So cost management involves forecasting and analyzing expenses. Now, this is the very first point on my slide, and it's intentional. Cost management involves forecasting. What's a forecast? A forecast is to say, let's look ahead the next 1 year. let's look ahead the next 6 months. Okay, you don't have to get to that future and discover that maybe prices have gone up or down. And that's why, as HR practitioners and professionals, we must pay attention to the news, especially to the business and economic side of the news, because all these things that happen in the international space with respect to energy, oil, gas, tariffs, they have a way, okay, of impacting on the standard of living of employees, employers, customers, and everything is intertwined. So cost management involves forecasting and analyzing expenses. HR plays a vital role in projecting personnel expense development and preparing scenarios, especially when external factors beyond the organization's control change rapidly. Quick reactions based on discussed forecasts are crucial for effective decision making. The focus is on identifying areas for cost savings without compromising the quality of human resource processes. This is very germane. This is very crucial. So we are not cutting costs for cutting sake. We are not cutting costs and then the company will suffer, or the business output will nosedive, or the quality of our products will become bad or worse off, or the turnaround time, okay, of getting out output will become even longer. So let me mention one or two things. For example, when you look at things like lean management or Lean Six Sigma, okay, it's talking about being what? Super efficient in terms of your processes, in terms of your cost, and so on and so forth. So HR needs to collaborate with the finance function to integrate the cost management role of human resources. Initially, finance sometimes in some organizations, if you have not been doing this in the past, may be skeptical, okay? They are typically gatekeepers of organizational costs. They try to sometimes, I don't want to use the word conceal, okay? Protect information and data. But you need to build trust so that HR can also be given access, at least to all the things that concern HR or that HR needs to have access to. Cost management is not necessarily a popular concept among managers who prefer full freedom. Top management cannot delegate complete cost management authorities to managers, necessitating dedicated function for cost management. And in this context, which sometimes typically is a role or a function in finance, but HR plays a crucial role in managing the personnel expense of the organization. Just like all the stakeholders, okay, everyone who manages one function or division or geographic area or the other, they are all responsible. Okay, all right. I hope I'm making sense. So let's just define concepts briefly so that we are sure we are interpreting today's conversation from the same lens. Okay, cost refers to the amount of resources usually expressed in monetary terms. Okay, that are incurred or sacrificed to achieve a specific objective or obtained in a particular item. So typically, generally, we look at the monetary terms, but money is not the only type of cost. Sometimes time can be a cost. Even in economics, there is something we call opportunity cost, because if you spend your money on A, you will also have B or C opportunity cost. Okay, so as we were saying, all right, human resource cost is associated with the entire end-to-end value chain of HR. And I'll give you one very simple example. You are, for example, recruiting for manager marketing, and on your recruitment panel, your CFO is there, Chief Financial Officer. You have your COO, Chief Operating Officer. Then you have maybe the head of HR, okay, and then maybe you have the director of marketing. That's 4 people. If you spend, for example, 2 days to source for documents as the HR officer or HR manager or HR executive, technically 2 days of your salary is part of the cost of sourcing for the CV. Assuming the panel members are okay with the quality of CV, and then you get 2 candidates, and you spend, say, 90 minutes each per candidate. That is 3 hours. Now, 3 hours, if you factor 3 hours of the salary of the CFO, 3 hours of the salary of the Chief Operating Officer, 3 hours of the salary of even the HR person, HR manager, and so on and so forth. That gives you, and this is not total, this is not absolute, but this gives you part of the cost associated with the recruitment. And God help you, after the 3 hours of engaging with these 2 candidates, you hire one of them. If you don't hire one, you know that particular investment, so to speak, has gone down the drain because you continue to search and to engage and to interview. They are also, HR costs includes costs around employee benefits. So things like HMO, okay, things like group life insurance, and so on and so forth. Okay, the cost can significantly, vary based on the size and scope of the organizations or operations. All right, so let's quickly look at importance of cost management in HR. Okay, 1, it helps with alignment with organizational goals. Cost management in HR should align with the broader goals of the organization by ensuring HR practice supports strategic objectives. Organizations can achieve better results while managing costs effectively. Then, resource optimization. HR involves the allocation of various resources, including personnel, okay, people, technology, facilities, equipment. Effective cost management focuses on optimizing these resources, ensuring that they are utilized effectively to maximize their value. Again, cost management is important for competitiveness and sustainability. So organizations that manage HR costs effectively can gain a competitive edge. This enables them to allocate resources strategically, invest in innovation, and maintain financial stability in the long term. Then strategic workforce planning. Okay, effective cost management facilitates strategic workforce planning and can align the workforce with business needs, ensuring the right talent is in place without unnecessary costs. Then, very important, impact on the bottom line. Okay, financial impact of HR cost management directly reflected in the organization's bottom line. What do we mean by bottom line? We are talking about profitability. We are talking about shareholder value. We are talking about financial performance, okay, which is very, very important. So again, let's look at some types of HR costs, and I'll need your help in this regard. So in the chat box, I also like you to type the kind of costs that you have incurred in HR, either where you work today, currently, or where you have worked in the past, or that you are aware of. So it might not be a kind of HR cost that you incurred in your professional life, but maybe from your friends, your colleagues, who discuss it, drop it in the chat box. Okay, so we have costs like recruitment costs, and that's one of the examples I gave earlier. So imagine you outsource the recruitment maybe to a headhunter, and they will charge you professional fees. That's also a cost. Training costs, when you train people, send them on external training, for example. Even if you are using LMS, learning management systems, platforms, okay, you will pay maybe Coursera or pay whoever the provider of the technology or the content. That's also the cost, training cost. And when you send your employees on training, for example, imagine you send them on a 5-day training, Monday to Friday. As they are doing that training, in quotes, they are not working for 5 days. That's loss of productivity, albeit temporary, is also a cost. Or maybe somebody else is covering their work. It's also a type of cost. Okay, there can be HR-related admin costs. There can also be retaining costs. So far, I've seen only one feedback with respect to this subject matter. Thank you so much, Stella. Okay, I now see additional feedback. Thank you, Omotola. Okay, termination costs. Yes, when you let employees go, there are also costs associated with it. Let's keep the contributions going, and let's be active. Fantastic severance package. Thank you so much. Let's keep them coming. So we'll quickly look at some of these costs, and as we keep dropping our thoughts in the chat box, and I'll read them, especially any that is has not been mentioned before. Recruitment costs, we said that, but just from a slight perspective: advertising, hunting, interview expense, on onboarding expense. I know a few places, for example, even at the level of, okay, thank you so much, Malik, benefit costs, thank you so much, Ali, employee engagement costs. I know some places that when they invite you to come and do interview, they've not hired you. For example, they'll probably give you lunch or breakfast or something. They'll give you tea, fried rice, jollof rice, chicken, turkey, whether you pass or not. At least that one, you'll have a good memory. Okay. Onboarding costs, training. Some organizations have elaborate onboarding processes and systems, that they put in place. You get HODs or senior members of the team from different departments to come and spend hours training and teaching and exposing the new employees to what each part of the business does. And they leave their primary assignment to do this. That's also kind of cost. Sometimes when you hire in certain situations and scenarios, maybe you bring the person from Abuja to Lagos, or from Lagos to Port Harcourt, or from Osogbo to Castina. You may be responsible for the relocation cost. All right. So some controls here: have a clear understanding of what your needs are and what you can afford to spend. Develop a budget for your recruitment efforts, and as much as possible, stick to it. Okay. And in some instances, it may also be cheap to outsource your recruitment. Okay. I'm checking the chat box again, and I can see feedback here. Elevated manpower costs in overtime. Thank you so much, Bibi. Yes. Overtime payments, yes, especially due to a proper planning of work schedule. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I like that. Overtime too can be a cost. And in some organizations, it can be a massive massive costs. So I'll quickly, because of that contribution by Bibi, and that's why I say please contribute. I remember something that I wasn't planning to share in this particular webinar, but I will share it because it's very relevant now. Thank you so much, Bibi, for spurring my memory, my memory. Now, I used to work in a particular firm, and we had a major outlet, okay, somewhere in Ikeja, Otigba axis. Now, anytime people come to work on Saturday, we call it Saturday work allowance. So let's assume that your salary per day, this is hypothetical, please, this is just hypothetical. Let's say your salary per day is 3,000 naira. That is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Your salary is 3,000 naira. If you came on Saturday, your salary is 7,000 naira. Look at that margin, 3,000 to 7,000. Now, I now realized, because we process that overtime payment, we process it outside payroll. It's a different process, and then they are paid or credited. We don't even pay it when we are paying payroll. Say we pay payroll, say on the 25th. We'll process overtime for January, maybe by first week in February. For February in first week of March. You get what I'm saying? Now, I've been in that organization, I think, for like 6 months. And I did the numbers, at least for the time I was there. I saw that for this particular Ikeja branch, on the average, they are like 13 in that branch. Almost every Saturday, worst case scenario, 11 or 12 people will come to work every Saturday. Many times, all the 13 will come to work. Guess what I did? I sent a mail to the finance department, and I said, please, from the ledger, help me pull the sales record of this Ikeja branch for the last 1 year on Saturday. Already, I had the data on how much we were paying for overtime on Saturday to our staff in that Ikeja branch. Guess what? The amount of money we had paid for overtime. This overtime now is not after 5 work, it's for coming to work on Saturday. We had paid more money for overtime for them coming on Saturday than the sales that they have brought in on Saturday. And this is a multi-million-dollar company. Apparently, those Saturdays, they don't sell anything. Their core sales is Monday to Friday. So I now did that analysis, how much we have made on all the Saturdays in 1 year, how much we have paid out on all the Saturdays, and now sent a mail to my CE placing an outright ban on Saturday work. Or if there must be Saturday work in that location, that the approval must be obtained from that the approval must be gotten directly from the CEO. Before that, without that approval, if anybody makes any claim for overtime allowance, we are not going to process it. You know what happened? Immediately I sent that mail, as I was sending it to the CEO, I now copied the branch manager of that Ikeja. She called me and she told me, said, Mr. Adeosun, that what I did is an eye-opener, that nobody from Ikeja will come to work on Saturday again. That it never dawned on her that even if I didn't share it with the CEO and I shared this information with her alone, that she herself will have cancelled Saturday work in Ikeja. Of course, if the reverse was the case, maybe we are paying 50,000 naira every Saturday, and the sales and the revenue from the sales was 2 million naira. Of course, we even tell them that who wants to come to work on Sunday so that we can begin to pay overtime allowance for Sunday, because there will be corresponding revenue, you see. So I just gave that example again to show how we use data to eliminate a cost. And that particular cost that was eliminated, there was no, what do you call it now? It didn't jeopardize the quality of or type of service the organizations was rendering to the client and customers in any way. Okay, so talking about employee retaining costs, in most cases, these costs are higher for highly skilled employees. For organizations looking to keep their top talent, it is important to offer competitive wages and benefit package. Some of these include, the normal typical salary, training and development, recognition and rewards, when we do employee engagement, sometimes I worked in places where the employee engagement was outsourced. They have to deploy maybe certain tools and techniques, and we have to pay for it. Employee assistance program, retention bonus, career development opportunities, and so on and so forth. Now, some control we include here effective retention strategies and competitive strategy, competitive compensation. Again, if you recall, just this evening, during my this ongoing conversation, I gave an example of a scenario where in the last 1 year, every time somebody had resigned for one reason or the other, and we tried to replace them, we were always, and this was not a choice. This was not something we wanted. We were always hiring at a higher cost. So if, for example, we had done better to retain those staff, even if we were going to give them a salary raise, the percentage of salary raise vis-a-vis their current salary would not be as high as the margin between what the person the professional coming from outside relative to the salary the existing staff was getting. So retention has become even more critical today than ever before because of the impact on HR costs. Now, some of the costs associated with training, instructional design, content development, trainer salaries and fees, facilities and venue, technology and software, employee time, certifications, exam costs, and so on and so forth. Some of the control here. Yes, maybe you used to do 20 trainings per year. You need to do your needs assessment. Except your needs assessment determines that you still need to do 20 trainings. You may need to reduce it to 15 or to 10. Of course, based on your needs assessment, so that one department or one line manager does not just come and say, oh, why you didn't train my staff this year? Or instead of training 7 staff, you train 5. Or instead of sending each staff for three trainings, you send them for 2 or for 1. Again, there must be a needs assessment so that the process of reducing the trainings, either the quantity or the type or the beneficiaries, is scientific and doesn't look like a vindictive or you are trying to sanction or punish people. Again, you can also look inwards, utilize internal resources. Let me say this here. I remember when I was working with Ikeja Electric, and we had a learning and development unit, very functional. The guys there are still, some of them are still in system, are still related to them, very great people. And they developed an internal faculty. They advertised, okay, that anybody, of course, they gave some certain minimum criteria, whether you're a subject matter expert, you have a range of work of experience. So it's not as if you just started work yesterday and today you want to come and train. And they did a call, they gave a timeline, and I'm being this elaborate in case you want to use a similar approach in your organization. So they even did the flyer. Do you want to be part of the prestigious Ikeja Electric faculty, learning and development faculty, something like that. Picture, and then they screened and they retained, and some sort of honorarium was also agreed to be given to the faculty. I have it here, maybe I can show you a plaque. Just give me, okay, not to worry, but I have a plaque here that they give me an order facilitator. Even though I was part of the HR team, I still applied and I was, admitted as a part of the learning faculty. Of course, they now put some trainings together for that faculty. For example, train the trainer. So, you can know physics, but not appreciate education. Education is how you transfer knowledge. So you can understand physics, but not understand how to transfer the knowledge of physics. So they did that, train the trainer, like, how do you teach? How do you develop content? How do you manage a class? How do you engage a class? So it's not just, some people say, oh, Oluyemi Adeosun said we should do learning internal resource. You just come and go and call the CFO, come and teach the other accountant. Is he a good teacher? Or can he be trained or coached to be a better trainer? You understand? So there are things to be done, even when you are putting up an internal academy, and don't also say their staff now, you will not give them anything. I gave the example of honorarium. It doesn't have to be honorarium. It can be, if you facilitate 2-3 topics for us in a space of, say, 6 months, we'll give you 2 days time off in addition to your leave period. So let's get creative, okay? It doesn't have to be money. You understand what I mean? You can say, oh, if you are on the learning faculty, you get 1 day per week to work remote. Things that people like, wow, this is valuable to us, all right? Explore blended learning approaches, invest in cost-effective technology, flexible scheduling, budgeting, and monitoring. So some of these controls are helping to manage the cost associated with training. So we'll move swiftly to employee benefits. Some of them include health insurance, okay, health insurance, retirement plans, okay, paid time off, life insurance, tuition reimbursement, and so on and so forth. Again, this is not exhaustive, but just to mention a few. Some of the controls that will include regular benefit audits, benchmarking. What are the organizations in your industry? What are they doing? Cost sharing strategies. Sometimes you may be able to introduce some cost sharing strategies, negotiation with the providers. Look, things are tough. If you don't negotiate, let me just say this if they've not done it already, your HMO will come this year. Well, don't let me say this year. Will come when your, what do you call it now? Your plan expires. It's not everybody's plan that is January to December. Many organizations pay for 1 year. But by the time it's approaching your anniversary, guess what? You'll be served a letter and you'll be advised that your premiums will go up. If I were you, I will attack and not be on the defensive. I will write them, let's begin to negotiate right now. Or begin to explore other alternatives so that you can have 2, 3, 4. Sometimes when your service provider, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I don't mean anything. Okay, when your service provider comes up and it's time for renewal and they serve you 1 month notice that you are increasing plan, the premium rate, even if you now at that point want to change them, it may not be neat, it may be clumsy, and you won't want a scenario or situation where your employees will be out of cover. I hope I'm making sense. But if 6 months before, even though you don't plan to change your service provider, you've explored 2, 3, and you negotiate. Sometimes people who are trying to get you to become their clients may be more concessionary, okay, may be more, they may be willing to take a lower level of profitability just to get you their account. Okay, so you need to explore this proactively. My friend and brother, my colleague, Bibi Dollar says here, you can negotiate cost freezing with HMOs if possible. Absolutely. If you can afford to pay for more than a year in a bid to freeze the premium payable, you can consider this. This is important. Thank you so much, Bibi Dollar. Again, my friend Sumbo Williams says here, in my previous organization, okay, reward for ISME. I know that SME is subject matter experts. Okay, I will mean individual subject matter expert. I'm assuming. If that is not the meaning, please let me know. Individual subject matter expert who are SAP super user is payment for their SAP recertification. Thank you so much, Sumbo. Okay, I means internal subject matter expert. So you can see this. They have subject matter experts in SAP applications. They help them pay for their recertification. You can see that. What we are saying here is be creative. What can you give to the internal subject matter experts that they will value and will make them be happy to want to share their knowledge with you? You can even add that to the performance management such that when people facilitate and share knowledge, they earn points or scores. It can be an additional 5 points that contributes to their performance appraisal and boost their mark. What we are saying in essence is Don't let people do it for free or for nothing. You understand, because it costs something. Fantastic. So negotiate. So there are instances where I remember my previous employment I just left recently. I saw the contract they had with an LMS service provider. So they paid for 3 years. No, they signed a 3-year contract, paid for 1 year, and were paying every other year. And they locked that the rates cannot increase in 3 years. And that if they will renew after 3 years, the rate of increase will not be more than 30%. They locked it. So sometimes when you are able to do some long-term agreements, you are also able to get certain concessions, and that can be helpful. We'll go to the 5th major type of HR cost, which is HR admin costs. Some of them, again, this is not exhaustive in any way, just examples. Employee records management, HR technology, compliance and legal, employee documentations and forms, employee communication, termination and exit processes, which some of us had mentioned earlier. We'll look at some of the controls here. You may want to automate administrative processes. Increasingly, more than ever before, paperless. Go paperless. You know, some people will say, oh, some of these are our line manager. They don't check their email. They don't respond to their email. Look, I worked in a place where the system is automated. You can print. As you are printing every month, somebody audits at the end of the month all the papers you have used for your printing and what you have printed. Once it is out of certain things, maybe, you know, some things regulatory, maybe the regulator will submit hard copy paper. Once it's outside something like that, if you are not careful, they will debit your own account or debit your department account, and it will count against you. And then things like recycling. So if you use side A of a paper, then you use side B of that same paper for something else. So you are not just shredding a paper that you have used one side only, of course, except in extreme area of confidentiality and so on and so forth. So where I work today, for example, maybe I should even go and ask them. My offer letter, everything was digital. Everything was digital, offer letter, everything, forms, everything. All this be printing 10, 20. You see, you know how much they sell a ream of paper now. And you know, sometimes one of the problems with admin cost is that it may be small, but it's a lot. So by the time you incur small cost in many places, then it becomes a lot. I'll give you one funny example. This is just a funny example. Don't take it personal, please. You know, I used to work somewhere, and you know, this person was doing this water challenge, and used to carry one big liter of water like this. She said she was doing the water challenge. Guess what? Once it's 5 o'clock, this person will go to the water dispenser and fetch. I used to use the word fetch water. This one is not, I'm going to take water. You know, there's a difference between taking water from the dispenser and fetching water. In my mind, I'm like, madam, are you sure you're not fetching this water to go and give your family at home? A big 1 liter cake. I said, I don't have a problem if you take it to the body, but at 5, is your house that far on the night time? And she used to do it every time. But imagine everybody taking water like that. I've worked in a place where, for example, on every wing in the office, maybe they use a 2-bottle jar of water per week. If the 2 bottle jars of water finishes on Wednesday or Thursday, they are not going to replace it. It's the next Monday. Why? Cost control, cost management. Of course, before they determine that 2-bottle jar is sufficient for a week, they've done a head count of that floor. Okay, it's not like they want people not to drink water or become dehydrated. So automate administrative processes, centralize employee records, outsource non-core tasks and function, standardize processes, you know, deploy employee self-service, ensure adequate and robust compliance management. I work somewhere. This may be funny to some of us, especially professionals. There was a company takeover, management, board take over, a new company, core investor took over the company. You know, when new board members take over now and they like want to take some people out, bring in their people, which may not be bad in itself. So there was this particular lady who was on maternity leave and they wanted to take her out. And the HR, who happens to be my friend, advised in writing, please don't take out this person. She's on maternity leave. They said, no, they don't care. They don't give a hoot. Guess what? Even though it took some time, 2 years later, they lost the case at the industrial court. This is a case you will always lose. There are some cases, no matter how you package it, you will lose in industrial court. Sacking a woman on maternity is one of it. You can't win that case till tomorrow, okay? And this is just an extreme but example of compliance management. Please, maybe I'm supposed to file something as a particular period. Find any opportunity to avoid penalty, default, sanction by all righteous means. Please embrace it. Okay, this is not the period because we are now very cost conscious. Somebody mentioned some companies, Malik. I see that, but I won't mention it. I understand what you mean. Okay, yeah. Malik also says there are payment, sponsorship of membership, association, conference, and event. Fantastic. I align with those contributions wholeheartedly. Okay, let's quickly identify some cost drivers in HR. Okay, employee turnover, we've already highlighted that actually high turnover rates can lead to increased recruitment and training costs. Because when people leave, they leave with the knowledge. So they don't just leave. You know, you will say, bring your work tools. You will collect your laptop. You will collect your phone if you give them any. You know, you will collect all that. But there's something you can never collect. All the knowledge, learning that they have obtained, okay, in your organization. You know, even when you bring in somebody who is good, great to the organization, there's the generic way of doing things, and there's the way in your organization or in your industry. No matter how proficient a new professional employee or candidate is, there will always be a learning curve. It may be 1 week, it may be 3 months, and it may be longer. That learning curve can translate to reduced productivity, can translate to reduced benefits to your clients, your consumers, your customers, and so on and so forth. So please, as much as possible, as a key cost driver management initiative, your attrition, watch it, and bring this to the front burner now. Okay? Don't wait till the mid-year or end of the year. Look, I'm tempted to say summon a management meeting or schedule a meeting with your MD. I said, look, these are our priority employees. What can we do? There's something we call, and I'm sure most of us, even all of us are aware of this, what we call stay interview. You know, exit interview, somebody has left, they've resigned. They're now saying, oh, Oluyemi, why did you resign? What can we do to retain you? Blah, blah, blah. 90% of the time, if not more, when you are doing that exit interview, the person is a goner. Apologies to my Arsenal brethren. The person has gone. But a stay interview, at least this person has not gone yet, has not indicated intention to resign. They may be searching or not, you may never know. But a stay interview gives you an opportunity to say, what will make you go if you go now? You know, and when you do it well and you create an environment of trust, of confidence, people will open up to you that, look, if I get a better job now, I will leave. Then you ask, what do you mean a better job? What is a better job? Or if I get more money now, I will leave. What do you mean more money? How much is more money? So if you've not been doing stay interview as a way to be able to read the mind's intentions of your employee, you may want to introduce that into the mix. Or if you've been doing it, you want to do it better, you want to review the processes. And when you do and you collate the outcomes, do you take action? Just like when we do employee survey, I tell anywhere I work, I try that after we've done the employee survey, we publish the outcome of the employee survey to the entire workforce. Let them know, oh, maybe these are the 7 key areas. 3 of them we adjust, and this is how we will adjust. 2 of them we won't adjust. 1, we don't have the money, or it's not in line with our coverage, or whatever the reason is. The 7th one, yes, we will adjust, but that will be a long-term plan. When people, you collect feedback from people, you never return a feedback or a counter feedback. We are not saying everything they say, do it, but you don't respond to them. You don't even let them know that you have spoken, I hear you, and hear you loud and clear, and then give explanations and timelines for the ones you will do, clarity on the ones you can't do for whatever reasons. Maybe there are some things employees may ask, for example, and due to what do you call it, regulatory reasons, you may not be able to do it, you know. So we need to work around that. So speaking about inefficient HR processes, okay, anything can be inefficient. What is working in company A can be an inefficient process in company B. For example, you could have too many approval levels, and by the time the approval will come out, you have lost days or hours, and the value you will obtain from that process will be compromised. Okay, so in the word inefficient here may not necessarily be a global reason, but let me tell you some of the things I've experienced. That I would call, sorry about that. I don't want it to take me offline. Okay, inefficient. I'll give you an example. So in a particular organization, so let's just call it company A, okay, for privacy. Anytime any staff, please pay attention to this. Anytime any staff leaves the organization and you want to replace the staff, you will now have to send an email, for example, to the executive director. You do like a justification for a role that is on the organogram that is approved, and for one reason or the other, the person resigned. You now send an email to the executive director. The executive director will now send another mail, of course, forwarding the same mail you have sent to the chairman. The chairman will now approve. Okay, process from when you send the mail to when it comes, it can be 2 months, it can be 40 days. If they don't give that approval, you can't hire. Then in this particular instance, I said, look, please, can we have like a manpower plan? One time manpower plan that we will send to this chairman. He will look at the manpower plan and he will approve. If he has any problem with any rule, he can ask for additional justification or he can strike it out. So that every time any staff, including a front desk, resigns, we are not going back. Now, we won't have had a problem going to the chairman for approval every time. If within a day or 2 months, the feedback will come. You now start following up with the ED, following up with the ED, following up with the ED too will now be following up. For me, that's inefficient. Again, I don't have any problems with providing approval, but considering the length of time, and this is not a one-off incident, it happened over like 12 times. For me, that's inefficient. So what's inefficient in your own organization or in your own context? Okay. Again, regulatory compliance. Okay. Failure to comply with regulators can lead to legal fees and penalties. Benefit packages. The cost of providing employee benefits include, health insurance, retirement plans, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me take a breather. All right. Okay, so with respect to ways to reduce the cost of HR, Etini Akpabio suggests here the review of applicable policies, and I agree absolutely with that. So Let's look at some of the ways we mentioned quite a number. And right now, I want to also crowdsource. So please, in the chat box, drop ways that you are using, you have used, or you plan to use, so that all of us can learn together. Okay. HR leads can reduce hiring costs through strategies like employee referrals. Okay. If you use referral through your existing employees, at least they won't charge. You can pay them. So some companies have referral policy where they pay you like a commission or a fee. It can be a fixed fee that every quality hire we get from you will pay you one time 50K off. I've worked in a place where they say, we'll pay you 100K. When we hire the staff, we'll give you 50K. If on that person's 1 year anniversary, we'll pay you the other 50K. So not only are you helping the staff, it's also your job to help us make sure the person stays. Now, if we had gone to, say, a recruitment firm, depending on how they charge, there's no way they will charge 50K. It will be 100K. It will be way, way, way higher than that. Referrals, okay. And one of the other advantages, for example, of referrals, I know there's a side effect to it. People want to bring in their cousin, brother, friend, whether they are good or not. Then they will now go and coach them that this is the way they ask questions and research this, is like that, But let's ignore the potential drawback. Those potential drawback, okay? But look at it from a potential savings. And let me quickly drop this. You will see that some organizations maintain what you call it, a strong alumni network. In other words, everybody who has worked with them, they may even have a WhatsApp group for them or something, send them emails annually, biannually, so that when there's any vacancy, they just shoot it to that the alumni network to say, oh, there's this vacancy, there's this. So they are able to quickly get personnel, okay, within a particular industry or sector, because they have maintained a healthy relationship and contact with all their alumni. So it may help you, reduce costs, leveraging social media, LinkedIn, building a talent pool. And I like this particular building a talent pool. A talent pool means there's no vacancy yet, but you already have a healthy pipeline of potential replacement. You see, once you let somebody resign, especially senior roles or critical roles, key roles, and you now begin to try to recruit, you become desperate because time is no longer on your side. You are pressed. You may just take anybody and not necessarily take the best person or people. But again, if you build a talent pool, in other words, all the roles in the organization, all the critical roles, you search, for example, on LinkedIn, you reach out to potential people, meet your minimum requirement, open a conversation with them, ask them to send their email. In some instances, even do first level. So if you are the type that do maybe aptitude test or something or psychological test, you administer it to them and confirm their interest and availability in the respect of a potential or future opening. You can even do first level interview and so on and so forth, especially for your critical roles. You're already building your pipeline. By the time there is a vacancy, you are not desperate. What you are running to consultant for, you have consulted for yourself internally. Another critical way, to reduce costs, okay, is vendor reviews. Okay, consolidate your vendor list for an annual review, ensuring performance meets expectation and pricing also aligns with the market. Assess vendors based on solutions, price stability, reliability. Require advance notice from vendors regarding any changes in price, risk, or the relationship. So, for example, I've also worked in places where, as part of our contractual obligations or agreements with our external vendors, we put it there that you must give us a 6 months notice before you can review price. Some vendors will not agree. Some will say, no, we can't do more than 3 months, or we can't do more than 1 month. But depending on the scenario, the type of vendor, at least try. Do you understand? Even if you ask for 1 year notice and the person now agrees to 3 months, what if you didn't ask for anything? Okay, my friend there, Jennifer says, use your company website to build your talent pool. Fantastic. Fantastic. There's a career portal there or portion there that people can always send in their their CV, and so on and so forth. Let's optimize. The website is not just a fancy good to have. You can use it to the advantage of your recruitment. Okay, Akintoye says alignment will only work for company with excellent culture. Yes, Akintoye, what business do you have with a company with a bad culture? Really? Should you be there in the first place? Absolutely. My brother Bibi Dollar says you may consider using brokers. Fantastic suggestion. God bless you, Bibi Dollar. In fact, chop no. You may consider using brokers for certain payments being made. The reason is brokers may be able to leverage on the numbers they provide to reduce costs. For example, insurances. So what Bibi Dollar is saying, in a slightly simpler term, a broker is a third party or like an aggregator. So, if, for example, you have 200 staff and you want to provide insurance for 200 staff, but you go and meet a broker will interface, for example, on behalf of 20 companies, and they will have 20,000 staff. Based on that 20,000 staff, they may be able to get a lower premium per person. Do you understand? It's the same concept of maybe you go and buy a mutual fund, and then the investment banker leverages on the funds of many people, in a way. So you can also consider using a broker. They're able to help you get better deals in terms of pricing. And also, very importantly, when there is a need to call on the insurance, they are also able to help you fight and get your, what do you call it now? And so you are compensated adequately and timely. Because brokers are also professionals in the insurance sector. They also understand all the nitty-gritties, all the terms and conditions that they write in tiny, tiny prints that you, a lay HR professional, may not go and check. They will check it for you and even advise you that don't sign these kind of things, and so on and so on. Thank you so much, Oluchi. Automate within repetitive tasks. Yes, thank you so much. I'm really enjoying our contributions, and let's keep it coming as we plan to hand up as soon as possible, eliminate unnecessary training as much as possible, use artificial intelligence, and a good example of an AI tool we all know is ChatGPT. Okay, a lot of things you can do legally and ethically with it. Also look at talent mobility. Okay, internal talent mobility or talent development is advantageous for employers, leveraging employees' legacy knowledge and alignment with organizational culture. Now, when we talk about talent mobility, and I'm sure we've done 1 or 2 webinars, you can check the YouTube channel, Oluyemi Adeosun, for more. But you see, one of the things some organizations do, and I'll use in an HR context. So they will hire somebody as training officer. 3 years later, that person is still training officer. Maybe later, they will now promote that person to assistant training manager. And then the person will now become training manager and senior training manager. There's nothing wrong with that. But compare and contrast the situation where that person does training officer maybe for 18 months, and then does union and labor relations officer, and then maybe does, say, employee relations officer. So let's assume they do one year. Then after 3 years, they now become maybe a senior HR executive. You understand? As this person is, partaking in different value chain of the HR, if anybody in any of this value chain in future resign abruptly or they japa or something happens, they may have developed the bandwidth to cover that role, and maybe instead of hiring an outright replacement, you just increase their salary significantly, which will still be cheaper than hiring somebody in certain instances. Again, when we talk about this talent development, because we have established tonight, as many of us already know even before tonight's session, that when you need senior executive hires and you go and hire them from outside, they come at a premium. But if you have taken the pay to develop your talent internally through all the different talent development initiative programs, whatever, you get them slightly cheaper. So we're not saying do talent mobility and development so that you will underpay. We're not saying you will underpay, But if you have been moving, people will move within the ranks, within the organization's, what is called it, grade, salary structure. They will relatively be okay. But somebody coming from outside the organization will probably be used to a different pay structure altogether. They can come and ask for times 3, times 5. But most people internally, even if you give them, say, 25%, 30%, 50%, 50%, they may be able to take it with gladness. But person we don't see, they don't taste. Let me use street language. The amount may be what? White. Let's look at a few other things. So I initially was thinking, should I put this or not put this? Should I put this or not put this? But, hiring, some people will say HR is hiring and firing on the right hand. Some people say, that what do you do for a living? I hire and I fire. Okay, so let me show the two at the same time. So we have right sizing and downsizing, and sometimes there are two sides of a coin. Okay, so right sizing involves adjusting the size and composition of the workforce to achieve greater efficiency and cost effectiveness. The primary goal of right sizing is to ensure that the organization has the right number of employees with the appropriate skills to meet its current and future requirements. Now, downsizing is a strategic organizational initiative aimed at reducing. So this one, reduction is the end game. So you can right size and actually have more staff if that is the outcome of the right size. But downsizing, you already know, maybe you have 400 staff today, you are taking it to 350. Okay, I am looking at reducing the size of the workforce to achieve cost savings, improve efficiency, or adapt to changing business conditions. This process involves eliminating jobs, positions, or entire departments within the organization. Now, some of the things I've done in some of the places I've worked, especially as a genuine means to cut costs. If somebody leaves or resigns from a role, we check this role. Can we merge it with somebody else's job? Or cannibalize the role, take a third of it, give A, a third of it, give B, a third of it, give C. And in some instances, it has worked that we took out a role completely. Now, in the context I'm painting right now, there's a natural attrition. So anytime somebody is leaving, you have to justify why we are not merging or reallocating the roles. Why? We are now super conscious of our manpower and staff. These are not the times when they will just be bringing people from left, right, and center, and you'll be hiring. Let's be careful. This is a new year. Some people will say because they want to achieve the 2024 business objective, they'll say, oh no, we need 10 marketers. Do you need 10? Will 5 not do? Will 2 not be okay? Will 7 not be okay? Okay, I think I see a comment. Let me quickly take it there from the chat box. We're just saying you need to interrogate. And as a child, please, I know I don't want to use the word emotional. Sympathetic, everything. We love people. But it may not be out of place if you really do, what's the word now? You really critically justify all the roles in your organization. Look at your organogram again. Look at the manning. When we say manning, some roles you have 2 people, 4 people. Check. What do you really need? Of course, making room for redundancy, sickness, and so on and so forth. But it's not out of place, even if HR itself is suggesting downsizing, where there's a genuine case. Of course, you must also think of what you will do for the people that will leave. If you suggest it, even if they don't buy it, I know some people say, HR will come into management to downsize. But management will say, for the HR to have this kind of guts, they will know that you mean business. That is if genuinely you are oversized. So we're not saying downsizing for that, because people's lives are at stake, people's families are at stake here. Okay, so Franca here says, that's what happened in my company recently. A new employee earning times 3 of the highest paid exiting employee. Some of the managers were not happy at all. Exactly. Because when you bring people from outside and you have to pay them more, it distorts your internal pay structure, and you now see subordinate any more than line manager. And you will say they won't know, but I don't know. Salary has a way of leaking. No, it has a way of leaking. Okay, so strategic workforce planning in management, in managing HR costs. Okay, align, optimal staffing levels, analyze workload trends, anticipate skill gaps, assess market conditions affecting talent availability. So even things that will happen in the future, we'll be taking care of it now. You don't wait for that future to happen. There are some people now, they have some free time or extra capacity, can begin to, for example, train them in maybe software, programming, certain skill sets, so that by the time you really need it, you don't have to go and hire from outside. So you can even pay for the tuition, the certification, broaden the skills and competency levels, invest, okay, anticipate future talent requirements, and make provision upfront. Okay, regular workforce assessment, skill assessment, performance reviews, employee satisfaction surveys help identify areas of improvement. This year is not the year that a staff is not performing. Okay, you take them through PIP, they are not, and you say, hey, let's leave you, let's leave you. You have to be ruthless with your performance management process and cycle. Okay, be ruthless with reward. Reward can be promotion, reward can be more money. Reward can also be, say, goodbye, odabo, goodbye. Please. Sometimes we don't realize that when we have people who are not working or not performing, and we are trying to be emotional about it, not only are we doing a disservice to the organization, you're also doing a disservice to the other employees who are pulling their weight. They are like a freeloader. I can't be working hard and diligent, and I see somebody we are being paid the same or in the same pay bracket doing 1/3 of what I do. If you don't take care of that person and get that person to up their game, guess what? I'll begin to drop the ball. I'll begin to use my time for other things because I'll be feeling cheated that why is X being treated different from Y? Why am I doing more work and we are getting the same kind of pay? So be ruthless with your rewards, both positive and sanctions. Okay, mention automation, HRIS, streamline processes with automation, improve your work based on data. So more than ever before, we are going to take less and less decisions based on what? Sentiment. Look for the numbers in the work people do. Numbers, so that we can use to populate the dashboard that can show the value and volume of our work, the value we are adding to the organization, so that any decision we are taking is not sentimental, it's scientific, and we can defend it, and you can use it to make reasonable call, sound judgment on business cases or recommendation to the organization. Okay, we can also consider outsourcing non-core HR functions. Okay, sometimes it may be cheaper to outsource than to create a unit in HR for it. There are instances where some jobs, I'll give you an example, and I'm saying this lightly, don't take it too seriously. So maybe somebody is just a payroll officer and it's not a very large organization, and the person is doing only payroll. If you are doing payroll and several other things, no problem. You will see that in many organizations, that payroll functionality is just 1 week that is in there. The person is just lounging. If you outsource that payroll to maybe an HR firm or payroll firm, they can be doing payroll for like 4 or 5 companies and they will be fine and they will always be occupied. But you will save that cost, for example, on an ongoing recurring basis. That's just an example. It can be on anything. Okay, so you can consider outsourcing. Some things can be given to a vendor, consultant, or you can have a freelance employee. So in other words, the employee is not working for only you, but they come in maybe 1 week in a month to your organization. So they are your staff, but they are not your staff in the sense that they are not FTEs. And maybe they are like consultant, they come render your service, your NDAs, non-disclosure closure agreement, and so on and so forth with them. Okay, good. So we'll end with this case study. If you are familiar with my facilitation approach, I typically like to have one case study in my presentation, or sometimes multiple state case study. So, but before we enter the case study, where we will conclude, all right? Igwe Pascal says, I'm thinking HR managers should also look at potentials of existing employees before hiring new employees. Pascal, I agree 100%. In fact, we need to believe more in people. And when I say people, I mean internal people. The same kind of, you will interview somebody for 1 hour and you believe they can solve your organizational problem. I've said this here, but let me say it again, it's worth reiterating. Okay. Some of us, and when I say us, both HR and line managers, okay, or management people generally, this see finish. Because you see that person every day, we have a way of summing that person's capability. And sometimes we are wrong. I've seen many instances where in company A, you will overlook a particular employee. Company B will come and hire that same employee, give them a senior role, and they will do well. You will not be saying, so XYZ can be this good. It's because you hire the person as a copper, and this is 4, 5, 6, 7 years later, you are still using the eye of that copper to look at him or her. Please, as much as is reasonable, let's take a chance on our internal people. I remember I used to work in an organization where in a particular year, our KPI was that 70% of our internal recruitments, 70% of our, of vacancies that we fill must be internal. I'll say that again. We had a KPI, HR had a KPI that, so for every 10 vacancies, so at least, if not more, 7 of those 10 must be what? Internal. So maybe there's a manager role. We look for an assistant manager and move to that role. Then a supervisor becomes the assistant manager. Then an officer becomes a supervisor. We now hire entry level from outside. That way, we've used one vacancy to elevate 3 people, and then we bring a junior person from outside. You get the drift. It's very, very, very give people belief. That is even what we are saying tonight from a cost-saving perspective. So this is our case study. Okay, a graduate training program, either management training, entry level, can be a strategic method for managing HR costs effectively. So the case study is just management training program. And when you are setting up a management training program, you are not typically setting it up for today. You are setting it up for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Okay, so let's just run through and refresh our memory, our mind as to what a graduate training program. I don't know if some of us on this call actually had the privilege of either entering organization through a graduate training program, or you've been part of the team that developed and implemented a graduate training program. But it can be a super cost-effective talent acquisition because you help build internal pipeline. Developing a graduate training program allows organizations to cultivate their talent pool from within. By hiring recent graduates, companies can often save on recruitment and external costs. Now, you see, when you hire fresh graduates, generally speaking, they are young. So maybe I'm just saying maybe 22, 23. They are not 45, they are not 50. And what we are saying here is that they are not set in their ways. They are malleable. You can train them and say, this is what customer service is. This is what it means to be in a fast-paced environment. You understand? You can mold them. They are hungry. They are adaptable. All things being equal. Now, there may be older people who are also like that. So I don't discriminate. I'll never do that. But I'm just trying to say, graduate training means people that don't have any experience. So it's not even an age thing now. In other words, it's an empty mold. You can even frame the mold the way you want from a professional perspective, and then you guide them, you teach them, you run them through intensive training. You maybe do, in some organizations, maybe you have 7 business units. They spend maybe three months in each business unit. You run them through accounts, HR, marketing, production, security. They go around and they may have like a workbook, okay, and they like a journal, they are documenting, people are signing, you may even be doing assessment or exams or tests for them. And at the end of maybe that 2-year program, that 18-month program, that 24-month program, maybe now in some instances you can say, where do you want to go? Some instances you say, okay, based on your performances, you are better here, and then you position it. But the good thing is they have a well-rounded understanding and appreciation of the business end to end. So even no matter where you now deploy them after their graduate training program, you can always redeploy them, move them in the future to any area of needs. Thank you so much, Malik. That's the word. They are trainable. So trainable people, very, very trainable. Okay. Structured training for skills and development to reduce onboarding costs. The well-designed program provides comprehensive training, reducing the time and resources spent on traditional onboarding process for each new hire. Targeted skill development, focused training address specific skills needed for the organization, aligning the program with business goals. All right, still on the case study, I've already spoken to this: rotational and multifunctional exposure, cross-functional training. Rotational assignment helps training gain exposure to different functions within the organization. This multifunctional experience allows for a more versatile workforce without additional hiring costs in the future. Hiring, early identification of what? High potential. Strategic workforce planning. Program assists in identifying high potential individuals early in their career. This strategic workforce planning can lead to what? More effective talent management, reducing the risk of what? Turnover. Okay. Also, because you are practicing internal promotions, by hiring from within the organization through the training program, companies can reduce extra recruitment costs associated with job posting, agency fees, and advertising. Now, what some companies do, let's assume that you actually need 20 graduate trainees. You're not going to hire 20. What will you do? In some instances, you will hire 40 or 30 or 35. You know why? Some of them will leave. Some will leave because they will say, oh, I want to go and do my master's in Cambridge. I want to go and do my master's in Harvard. Some of them will leave. You know why? I'm going to Canada. So if you need 20, you don't take 20. You take maybe 25 or 30, knowing that some will still leave. And typically most organizations, when they hire graduate training, they go for, just saying the best of the class. I don't want to mention a grade so that nobody takes it personal. Because of the recruitment process. So the people who make it through are usually people who will have succeeded no matter where they went, or even if they were on their own. So again, you can't have exceptionally good people, okay, and not think they won't be attractive to other organizations. I remember one of my facilitators, when I did an executive program in help desk, was telling us about his former company, which is British American Tobacco. And they just realized that some companies, they will just wait. After people have done like 2 years in British American Tobacco, they will just come and poach them. You get that because they know that British American Tobacco had a very thorough recruitment process. 1, 2, they had a very thorough graduate training program. That once you complete that program, you are what? Very good, sharp. You have an end-to-end business savvy, and so on and so forth. Let me quickly take additional contributions, very brilliant contributions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so thankful for your participation and audience tonight. Again, Malik says, shadowing is also very effective for young officers. I agree, absolutely. Pipidola, you are welcome back. The younger generation in this day and age are more susceptible to Japa. Absolutely. I agree with you. And that's why I said, if you need 20 people, hire 30 or 40 or 35, depending on your budget, knowing fully well that you are going to lose some of these exceptionally brilliant people due to forces bigger than you or your organization or even your country or your economy. Okay? All right. Strategic workforce planning can lead to more effective talent management, reducing the risk of turnover and internal promotion. All right. Mentorship, improve employee retention. Mentorship and guidance provided during the program can enhance job satisfaction, employee engagement, reducing turnover costs associated with recruitment, training, and lost productivity. And I love this particular one as we round up here, as we wrap up tonight. Cultural fit. You know, because we said, so to speak, people who are trainable, okay, different organizations. So you can say this is the, so you can say in this organization, we are very polite. Whether you are a junior, a senior, a driver, a cleaner, it doesn't matter. We greet, we are respectful, we are polite, and they get it. When somebody has worked in a very toxic environment and they spend 7 years there, you now bring them into a very polite environment, they may struggle. You understand what I mean? So if these people have come through your program, graduate training program, gone through the ranks, you will hardly see them begin to deviate. It's like that scripture that says, train up a child in the way to go. And when they are grown, they will not depart from it. It's also train up a group of people in the way the organization wants them, so that when they enter mantle of leadership, managerial level, you won't need to beg them. They are so used to your culture, to your systems, and they are able to help with the sustainability of the organization. So cultural fit trainings, undergoing a structured, look at that word, structured program. When people go through a structured program, they are programmed. You know what a program is? Like a computer software. Almost by default, in their subconscious, this is what they are used to. This is what they know. God help you that you didn't program the wrong thing or a faulty thing into them, because they will just keep running with it. They are more likely to align with organizational culture, possibly impact employee retention and reduce costs associated with, turnover and cultural alignment. Okay. Also ensure a tech-savvy workforce. As part of this program, trainees can be exposed to and trained on HR technologies, organizational technologies. This can contribute to cost savings through HR processes and efficiency. Of course, this becomes a beautiful long-term talent pipeline, highly engaged workforce. When doing these training programs, you introduce them to non-work activities, social activities, fun activities, and you keep them engaged. Now, when they want to go, sometimes they will think of new friendship that they've built, the camaraderie that they've developed. So you will need to really tempt them with something that is big, something massive, because they can go to another organization and know that this set of friends, great friendship that have forged and developed here, will I get it there? In fact, by the time they spend 2-3 months where they are, they'll be thinking of coming back, because in quote, they will think the new environment is hostile due to the way you have programmed them, due to the way you've conditioned them. While there are initial investments in designing and implementing a graduate training program, the long-term benefits can outweigh the cost. It's crucial for organizations to continually assess, adapt their programs to align with changing business needs, and ensure ongoing cost effectiveness in talent management. Ladies and gentlemen, managing costs in HR is a critical aspect of organizational efficiency and financial stability. The effective management of HR costs involves strategic planning, continuous monitoring, and adapting to the evolving needs of the organization. At this intersection, I would like to take questions, if any, and I would like to take comments and contributions quickly in the next, say 5 to 10 minutes maximum. I hope this session has been of benefits. I hope you have found value, both from the slide presentation and the contribution of the many people on this call tonight who have shared their thoughts via the chat box. So if you have any comments, if you have any contribution, you want to share an example and insight, please, if you raise your hands quickly, I will enable you to please share your opinion, your thoughts, if there's any value you think you can still offer. All right. So I'm checking the chat box now. Thank you so much, Madam Ajoke Omotayo. Your presence is not taken for granted in any way. Igwe Pascal, chat me up via my phone number. I will make it available to you. That's not a problem. Let me see here. Madam Omotayo here says, Thank you so much. This session was very insightful and extremely relevant. God bless you. I say big amen to that. She also says, I've led the graduate training scheme previously. This year, my MD said he's not ready to develop any talent pool for others. He said they will either be put by another company or they will jackpot. I can relate with their concerns, but again, the talent pool, first and foremost, is for your organization before it's for other organizations and other people. Because if all of us continually, none of us is developing, we are still going to hire from the same market. So we shouldn't complain in the future. If we now, maybe before you interview 20 people to get one person, then in the future, we now need to interview 50 to get one. We are all co-conspirators in the sense that none of us wants to invest. We just want to value. Okay, but I understand. I don't have any grudge against the MD's perspective. It can really be retiring. And sometimes, even if you say you will bond, it may not work, or it may not be possible. Okay, thank you so much, Oladoshu. Thank you, Ibrahim. Let me see. Okay, Noye, thank you so much. She says here, Jennifer says here, another way to reduce cost is recruiting former employees or applicants. Fantastic, good. Sometimes they may not come cheap, but one good thing is they become an instant cultural fit because they know and understand the system and process. Yes. So the learning curve is almost zero or reduced by 95%. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Ahmed, for your kind words. Thank you so much, Malik, for your kind words. Okay. Thank you so much, BB Dollar. Thank you so much. You did well. I appreciate your contributions. They were phenomenal and spot on. All right. If I don't call your name, please don't be angry. I'm trying to see. I appreciate the accolades and the encomiums. I'm trying to see if there's any additional contributions so that I can read out to the benefit of everybody. Hopefully, to every one of us on this call are checking this. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a privilege and a pleasure doing this tonight. Hopefully, I'll be back as the facilitator one of these days. Tomorrow is going to be another excellent session. Please join us. If you would like to be a facilitator, please don't be shy, okay? Reach out. I will schedule a date and agree a topic. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Oluyemi Adeosun. Looking forward to doing things together with you in the immediate future. Goodbye and good night.